I don't think of you as a man, and I don't think of you as a woman. I think of you as an angel.
I think that's healthy.
And welcome to The Swamp, a healthy choice that you've made today to listen to our podcast. That's an acronym.
Stands for some whack-ass movie podcasting.
Oh my god, that's the first time I've gotten an intro right in like
3 weeks.
Really long time. But I'm Dara, I'm here with my co-host Emily, and we are doing disguises / costumes.
I'd say disguises.
/ hijinks / tomfoolery through physical transformation via hair and makeup month.
It's a really fast and loose one.
I would, like, fast and loose, but, like, so specific.
Yeah.
But weirdly, I was, like, finding a lot of connections between last week we did Mrs. Doubtfire, and this week we're going to talk about To Wong Foo, Thanks for Everything, Julie Newmar. I feel like you just call it To Wong Foo, right?
Yeah, that's what I do.
It's a mouthful. But I'm like, 2 movies about, like, people dressing up as women who tragically died, like actors who beloved actors who tragically died, and then Robin Williams is also in this movie.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, we got a lot of, like, the Venn diagram is like getting closer and closer. But I would say that this movie is fairly different from last week because Mrs. Doubtfire was obviously about a man deceiving his family to try to win a custody or, like, you know, circumnavigate a custody battle, and this movie is just about 3 drag queens.
Yeah.
And I had never seen it before, and I truly did not think that this movie was going to be genuinely about drag queens. I thought it was going to be about 3 heterosexual men who needed to get in drag to do some sort of, like, hijinks or something. I had really no knowledge other than the 3 main actors, that they were going to be in drag and that they were going to be in a car. And that was all I knew about this movie.
So were you pleasantly surprised?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely I was. From the first scene. Oh, I also knew about RuPaul.
Oh my god.
Rachel Tensions.
That's like the most iconic fucking entrance in any movie. She comes down from the ceiling in a Confederate flag dress, like, actually, like, looks snatched as fuck.
Icon.
Yeah.
This was, like, RuPaul's, like, prime. It's, like, the mid-90s is when RuPaul was fucking getting it.
Yeah.
I mean, RuPaul still looks great, but, like, a little bit that you're like, why do you look so great? You're almost 70.
You're drinking, like, the blood of children. Yeah.
Also, just, like, your face skin is probably, like, in a ponytail on the back of your head kind of vibe.
But, oh my god, yeah. It's like, have you seen that video that's circulated about, like this giant, like, cluster of, like, quote, heterosexual men who are, like, at the bar to watch, like, the finale of RuPaul's Drag Race and, like, not RuPaul, or, like, for a RuPaul show.
Yes, and they're like, we love RuPaul.
Yeah, and they're like, you're straight? And they're like, oh yeah, absolutely. I'm so RuPaul. Straight. But I love RuPaul.
That's the lady asking the questions in that video is Michelle Visage, who is the host of Drag Race. They've been best friends, like, since the early 90s.
Oh, I fucking love that.
Yeah, and then she got brought on. She was, like, in a girl group that had, like, one hit song, basically, and just, like,
that makes sense.
But she was, like, really a big part of, like, ballroom scene.
Really?
In, like,
interesting.
In the, like, the 90s, and so RuPaul brought her on, basically just as, like, the
Yeah, this is my bestie.
Yeah, basically, but she now, like, she runs all of the, like, tours and stuff, so, like, not only is she a judge, but she's, like, a huge part of, like, the production, too.
She's in the Empire.
Yeah, she's pretty great. Yeah. Michelle Visage.
Yeah. She gets, like, a cut of the fracking.
Oh, yeah, for sure. She also is, like, a little too old to look as good as she looks, and it's, like, a little sus.
But anyway, RuPaul's not even a main character in this movie.
No. And the 3 main actors who play these drag queens are, like, heterosexual, cisgender men who were not, like, known for playing particularly feminine roles, like, almost the
None
opposite,
of them, yeah.
right? Like, Patrick Swayze was, like...
in Roadhouse.
Right, like, not, like, a guy's guy, but, like, you know, like a masculine man that women, like, fantasized about. So to have him play this character was, like, certainly a strategic choice. Also, like, Wesley Snipes, just, like, his arms are fucking ginormous.
Jacked. They're in, like, little tank top dresses or whatever, and, like, you can just see every muscle, like, in his body.
He's so good, though. I was asking you if you knew, because I didn't, like, know if those actors had gotten really any, like, backlash from this film, like, afterwards, or if they, like, spoke a lot about it in, like, the same way that I equate to, like, Brokeback Mountain, right? Like, them being like, oh, so you're gay now? Like, no, dude, I'm a fucking actor. And also just, like, it's a movie.
Yeah, I couldn't say for sure, but I'm sure they have spoken about it and everything like that. Like, I think Patrick Swayze was pretty outspoken about it, but I haven't done, like,
a gem gone too soon.
So essentially, movie opens, we meet Miss Vita Bohem, right?
Yeah, Vita Bohem. From the New York Bohems.
Yes. And Noxima, I don't know what her
Jackson.
Noxima Jackson, who is, so Vita is I can't think of it. Patrick Swayze. Vita is Patrick Swayze. Noxima is played by Wesley Snipes, and it essentially opens up to, like, the big, like, ball of the year kind of thing,
like a pageant.
Yeah, pageant. Yeah. And so those two are, like, the queens of the queens kind of thing. They both end up winning,
like a tie.
In a tie. So it's like, okay, they're both the drag queens of the year. And essentially they win a trip to LA to, like, compete in, like, I don't know what it was.
Which this will circle back around, but to me, I feel like if you win the local pageant, then you get to go to LA for the big pageant. Winning the first pageant seems like a prerequisite to go to the big pageant, but that will come back around. That, I guess, is not the case. They just win, like, it's like New York's City's Drag Queen of the Year or whatever, and now they get to go for, like, Drag Queen of America, basically.
Yeah, essentially.
But they tie. Also, in real life, there wouldn't fucking be a tie.
No chance.
Also, the two of them, I would say, like, Patrick Swayze's character looks fairly polished. Like, you can tell that she's, like, sort of, like, the most elegant of them all. She kind of carries herself with, like, this maturity. She's sort of like the mother drag queen.
Yeah, it's kind of like the older, mind you, I watched Paris is Burning for the first time, like, 2 weeks ago, so I'm like, okay. And she's kind of like the older style, like, drag queens and everything like that, who would, like, go and, like, style themselves off of, like, old Hollywood and, like, the Vegas girls and everything like that.
Yeah, very
Where, like, Noxima is very much, like
street
new
fashion,
school, like, gonna vogue her ass off. Like,
and it is sort of implied that, like, not like a mother-daughter situation per se, but that Miss Vita kind of helped, or, like, helps a lot of the newer local girls, like, get their bearings and be drag queens. She's sort of like a mother figure, and it is seem more sisterly between her and Noxima, but there is reference of, like, hey, don't you remember when you were just starting out and, like, you needed that help? So there's that kind of vibe to it. But honestly, during this pageant, as I'm looking at this lineup of girls, I'm like, neither of you are the, like, apparent winners. Like, there were some insane costumers.
Yeah.
Also, a lot of
I think a lot of them were, like,
real
actual drag queens that they had.
I know Hedda Lettuce and Coco Peru are two, like, very iconic older drag queens.
Hedda
Lettuce and Coco Peru. And I think Lady Bunny was in there, too. They're, like came up around the same time as RuPaul.
Really?
Basically. And, they were, like, among the contestants.
Oh, that's dope.
Which is, really cool. I like that they definitely included actual drag queens and actual queer people in the production.
Which is dope. Like, so many, like, even today, like, so many movies don't do shit like that. Right. Like, for 93? 94? Yeah. For 1995, I was like, that's pretty solid of them.
Right, because I feel like off the bat, I'm kind of like, oh, you got, like, 3 straight men to play drag queens. It feels like it's gonna be like a jab. Like, it's gonna be like, oh, we got these 3 oafish bros to pretend like they're drag queens. But it's like,
it wasn't at all.
It's not like that, really. That was my impression of what the movie was gonna be, just based off of, like, the, cover or whatever. But it was actually very positive and very, like, shed a really positive light on the community.
Yeah.
And it like, was way more positive than I thought it would be, especially, for a movie that old and a movie of that kind of, like, it's a comedy about 3 drag queens traveling across the country. But they tie, and so they're gonna go, and then they find Chi-Chi, who is a younger drag queen who was really upset that she didn't win. And she's crying, and they're like, why are you crying? And she's like, oh, I just...
little Latin boy in drag, why are you crying?
And they're basically like, oh, like, you're so upset, and she's like, I don't know my place in the world, and I feel so like I have all these big dreams, but I don't know what to do with all this like energy that I have. And Miss Vita, being the mother drag figure she is, kind of takes Chi-Chi under her wing, and this is like, oh, Noxima, let's sell our plane tickets to come up with enough money so all three of us can go.
Yeah.
Which I'm like, that is a lot. That is a commitment for somebody you just met in a stairwell.
Literally.
Like, I know you're like trying to be the mother figure, but I'm like,
that's a lot.
I also would be pissed if I was one of the other girls who didn't win. I'd be like, why aren't you taking me too, bitch?
Yeah, for real. But, so they go and they meet up with, Robin Williams, who's like, baby, I got you. I can get you a car. Gets them a car. It's like this, like,
Mustang.
Like some, like, yellow Mustang. They start driving across the country. There's a heartfelt moment where Vita, or not heartfelt, but, like, kind of, like, heartbreaking moment where Vita, like, drives through, her hometown and, like, sees her mother from the driveway or whatever, and, like, her mom's like, oh, what the fuck?
Also, mind you, they do not get out of drag ever.
Not once.
You see Patrick Swayze getting into drag for the opening scene of the movie.
That's
but
it.
Otherwise, you never see any of these actors out of drag, which there is like a moment where Wesley Snipes' character is explaining to Chi-Chi like what the difference between being transgender versus being a drag queen versus like being into dressing up for like sexual reasons is, which this is probably the part that just did not really age super well because that's just like kind of fundamentally untrue, like the information that was presented. But I'm sure in 1995 it's the best like that they could come up with to kind of, but they never get out of drag and also seem to like use she, her pronouns all the time. So like from a modern perspective, they all seem like they identify as women, but because drag queens don't stay in, I mean, some,
it's a performance.
Yeah, like drag is the performance, and then your gender identity is a separate thing than drag. Like the two do not have to intersect if you don't want them to. So,
they can. But
right. But so the three of them all stay in drag all the time, which from a modern perspective is like different than what they seem to be telling you right in this. So it's a little like dated, I would say, but again, still like relatively positive. It's not like they're not saying that one is better than the other either. They're not like, oh, like doing drag is superior to being trans. You never get that like message from it, which I also think is incredibly positive for a movie so old. But basically they just stay in drag all the time. They use she, her pronouns in their drag names all the time throughout the entire movie.
So essentially what ends up happening is they get pulled over on their way across the country. Cop is obviously a bastard, and is like, oh, hey, Miss Vita, come out of the car really quick. I'm gonna assault you.
Right, and also the implication is that all three of them are unclockably women. Like, until questioned otherwise, almost everyone in this movie thinks that these are cis women. Yeah. All the time until, like, something comes up, basically. Which is, like, also weirdly kind of a positive light for 1995. I'm like, this is sort of the attitude we should have today. It's like, you're not assuming anyone's gender. It's like they, introduce themselves as, I'm Miss Vita and I'm a woman, and then everyone just accepts that as fact. Like, that's how it should be, right? But it's sort of played off as, like, it's kind of a joke, right? Because we, as the audience, know that those are three, queens, like, men in dresses, right? So it's like, oh my god, everyone wants to have sex with Chi-Chi. That's so funny, because that's John Leguizamo. Like, all these frat bros, like, want to fuck Chi-Chi. That's hilarious. But, like, I don't know. That's kind of how it should be, right? If you think somebody's hot, it doesn't matter what their genitals are. Like... So weirdly, like, a thing that maybe, like, aged poorly and then, like, on the upswing, like, actually ended up being, like, a lot more positive than it was maybe intended to be. But yeah, this cop is like, oh, Patrick Swayze, you're so fucking hot. Let me, like, assault you against the side of my cop car. Yeah,
and then Patrick Swayze, I mean, obviously fights back, kind of, like, basically, like, knocks him out for, like, 12 hours
Which
or
also,
something like that. They were like, is he dead? And they're like, I think he's dead. And they all run.
If you're unconscious for like more than 3 minutes, your brain just like you die. Like, no, you cannot just be unconscious for that long. Like, if you, like, pass out, you don't just, like, stay passed out. That's not how that works.
That's called a coma.
Yeah, like literally.
It's called being comatose.
Literally comatose. But then they just they leave.
Yeah, they hightail it out of there. Their car ends up breaking down, and they get a ride to this small town in, I don't even know where it is in the South. I forget where it...
Did they
I don't know. I don't know that it says. But they're somewhere in the South. They get a ride to this small town, and then they are like, oh my god, can you fix our car? Like, talking to, like, the local mechanic guy, and he's like, yeah, but it's gonna take a couple days.
Because they, like, need to order a part.
Yeah.
And it's all comes back to the fact that they chose a really
shit-ass car.
Specific. They're like, you can take the Toyota Corolla, or you can take, like, the sexy Mustang. And they're like, we want the Mustang. And they're like, it's gonna break down. And then obviously it breaks down. They're like, we don't have, 1943 Mustang parts
To be fair, I would have done the same thing.
Right? It was so cunty. It's like a butter yellow. Also, they're in full drag in a convertible, and they show them all just throwing their wigs on with no glue. The amount of wig glue you would need to slather onto your scalp to get that shit to stay in a fucking convertible. Mm-hmm. No shot.
But so, I mean, basically through and through, it's like they kind of become friends with, like, all of the women in the town and bring them all out of their shells and, like, show them, like, how much more fun it could be to be a woman instead of just kind of, like, bumbling around and, like, serving, like, your man. And then there's, like, there's this whole storyline with, oh gosh, what's her name in this?
Stockard Channing. I don't know her character's name.
I don't know. Rizzo from Grease.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's this whole storyline where her husband is abusive, and Vida kind of, like, puts him in his place and everything like that. And so, but, like, yeah, basically, like, the cop is looking for them, and he ends up, like, coming to the town and, like, finding them and being like, I'm gonna take you all to jail. And then
the whole town is like, no, you're not. We love drag queens now.
The whole town is, like, sitting there, and it's like he's like got, like, one of their shoes or whatever. He's like, whose shoe is this? And everyone's kind of, like, comes forward saying, it's my shoe, like, all implying that they're drag queens or whatever. It's very, like, sex education, like the scene where they're like, it's my vagina.
Yeah.
And then everyone lives happily ever after, basically.
Yeah, then they finally make it to LA, and Chi-Chi wins the pageant. She is the winner at the end. So, again, like, I guess you didn't have to win the first one for it to be a prerequisite. And
it's strange.
At the very end, she wins the pageant, and who puts the crown on her head? Julie Newmar. Oh, wow. And they the whole time they brought a photo of Julie Newmar around with them as, like, good luck, because it was in the restaurant when they, like, decided that they needed to all go together or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, the title of this movie is, like, really does not make a ton of sense, but...
No, I love it, though. I think that really adds a lot to it.
Irreverent.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm gonna describe a plot of a movie to you, and then you're gonna tell me what movie it is.
Okay.
We open with a tie on the big contest, and then the follow-up contest is in LA, so they road trip across the country, but after a run-in with the local sheriff, they end up in a rural town that isn't particularly understanding of the city folk. However, during their time there, they start to warm up to the locals, participate in some of the local activities, and really start to enjoy the community. Maybe even strike up a romance while we're there, but then the sheriff comes back, tries to run them out of the town. They make it to LA and participate in the big race. What movie is this? Pixar's Cars. This movie is the same thing as Cars.
Oh my god, wait.
I was watching this and I was like, somebody at Pixar really liked this movie and was like, wait, we are gonna make a movie for little boys that's really gonna knock everyone's socks off. This movie's literally like if you took Thelma and Louise meets Cars.
Yeah.
And that's this exact film.
Oh my god.
Wild. Bobby Ray, the guy in the pickup truck, that's literally Brad Pitt's character in fucking Thelma and Louise.
Oh my god.
I mean, I guess it's him hitching a ride with them in Thelma and Louise, but...
Yeah, same idea.
He, like, shows up, he, like, rolls up to Chi-Chi, and do you know that video that's like, this is Valentina, she's an ally, speak Valentina.
Ally!
That's literally Bobby Ray is like, ally.
No, 110%. Oh my god. No, I did hate that, that plot point where like Chi-Chi is like in love with this kid, Bobby Ray. I'm like, you are an adult man and that is a child.
I was also like not understanding what the age situation was, because there seems to be a love triangle between Bobby Ray, who is ambiguously, I would say, somewhere between
18.
16 and 25, I would say, is the age range that he could possibly be. Maybe 22.
I'd say like 21, 22.
He's a young man. And Chi-Chi, who also is implied to be, like, fairly young, but, like, definitely not a fucking teenager, because she's performing in clubs, so we know she's at least 18. Mm-hmm. She's, to me, seems 24.
Yeah.
Right? There's a love triangle between, she looks 12. What's her
Bobby
name?
Lee.
Bobby Lee? Roberta? You're in 6th grade.
Literally.
I'm like, what is this love triangle? And it's like Chi-Chi's like decides at the end via Miss Vita's advice to like back off and because they're like, you're lying to him. He doesn't know that you are biologically a male, so you're really leading him on in like a way that's unfair to him, which I'm like, I don't know. If he's feeling it, he's feeling it. But the way that they're like, you need to back off and let this little girl chase her crush. I'm like, she's 12, he's 20, and Chi-Chi's like 25. I'm like, what the fuck is happening
I don't know.
But basically the implication is that like all the young men in the town like really want to fuck Chi-Chi. And like a group of them like kind of corner her, and like it's presumed that they're like about to assault her, and then like Bobby Ray like pulls up in his pickup truck once again to save the day.
Rescue.
Because he's the only man in this town who knows how to treat a woman right. But then Miss Vita then gives a bunch of them a big speech about like
how to treat a lady.
Yeah, like, you know. Or was it Wesley Snipes?
No, it's Noxima, yeah.
Yeah. She like grabs his dick basically and is like, you say hi, how is your day going? Not like, you know, hey baby, come over here, basically. And they all like, when they leave at the end, she's like, so remind me again how you treat a woman.
No, she is by far my favorite character in this, especially her relationship. There's this older woman who's kind of like mute, and everyone kind of implies that she's lost it a little bit or whatever.
Clara.
Clara. Her husband had died. They used to run a movie theater or whatever, and so Noxima ends up kind of just like, I don't like just strike up a conversation with her, just kind of like chit chat. Sorry, Dara's cats are being insane. But kind of like just strikes up a conversation, like, you know, it's like the same way that like you talk to like your animal almost, you know, they're not gonna respond, but like you're just talking to talk.
Miss Noxima rolls up and she notices that Clara has all these like old Hollywood posters in her house because presumably she like ran the theater, and so she just starts talking about like all these, you know, old Hollywood things she likes. And it's basically her self-monologuing. And Clara's there like, when I hit the pen and go nonverbal. Like, literally just like zoned the fuck out. But then at some point, like, something clicks and she like starts talking back and like being like, oh no, you didn't get that right. It was this actress, not that actress. And this is basically presumed to be the first time she has ever spoken.
No, like spoken in like years, I think.
Yeah, but their relationship is so cute. Literally, she's just like,
you're just so fucking glazed over, and you hear one person say one thing, and that's the only thing your brain can attach to. You're like, wait. And
then you respond, but it's like 10 minutes too late, and everyone's like, what are you talking about? And you're like, sorry, it took me 10 minutes to conjure up a response.
No, but that relationship like makes me cry. Like I just have grandparent issues, but it's
very sweet. They also like they take all the ladies in the town and they sort of like give them makeovers.
My god!
They go to the local store and it turns out there's all these like great vintage clothes that just were put away because nobody wanted to buy them, and they sort of dress everyone up like really cunty, and they teach all the women like how to be confident, but also like the kid who runs the store who has a stutter, like they deck him out too, and they sort of like uplift the community, and it is all very sweet and very positive. Which I was, as much negativity as there is in this movie with like the like domestic abuse and the like implied like, you know, sexual assault implications and stuff like that. Like,
those are all also like realistic themes. Like
Yeah.
it's not like, you know what I mean?
and they're not played off like for laughs
No.
ever really.
like
Rizzo's character who like is getting beat at home, like it's never really played off as a joke, even when Patrick Swayze is stepping in to like beat the shit out of the husband.
Yeah.
The only joke is like, oh, Vita works out. Like, like not like Vita is a man who's gonna beat the shit out of your husband.
Vita
like,
works out.
Vita works out, right?
Or like, it's like, even still, like, the scene where the cop takes Vita out of the car and is, like, presumably going to, like, assault her and everything is, like, very serious. Like, the way it's presented, like, you get anxious in the way that you're like, oh, something is going to happen.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
And for a movie that is predominantly, like, a lighthearted comedy, the addressing of these themes is, a little, like, more tasteful than I would originally have given this movie credit for.
Yeah, for 95, this is, like, a really well done. And I'd say it holds up, honestly, which is barely something you can say about anything that came out in these years. If it's just generally as a film, let alone something that's touching on, like, LGBTQ issues.
Yeah. In the wise words of a very iconic drag queen named Vivacious, Mother has arrived. And by that I mean Jen. She is my mom. She's here to host her interim podcast segment, Chocolate or Vanilla. She says two things. We all say which one we like better. Jen, how are you today?
I'm really good. How are you guys?
I'm fantastic.
Stellar.
And is there a theme this week?
So there's no theme.
Yes.
I just did Emily loves a no theme.
Swag.
My favorite.
This is off the dome.
Let's rip it.
Okay. Chocolate or vanilla?
Chocolate.
Vanilla.
Chocolate. Chocolate, vanilla, or strawberry?
Chocolate.
Vanilla.
Yeah, I'm going to go strawberry lately. All right, first one is the two Cher songs, Turn Back Time or Gypsies, Tramps, and Thieves.
I don't know the second one, but I do know Turn Back Time. And I also do know that we are not supposed to say the word gypsy anymore.
I know.
So, Cher, canceled. But I'll forgive it.
You don't have to cancel something if at that time it wasn't offensive, right?
I think maybe it's always been offensive. People just didn't know.
I think people just didn't care.
I don't think Cher had ill intent, is what we'll say.
I don't think Cher wrote the song.
She might have. She might have.
I'm gonna go with what was my first option?
Turn Back Time.
Turn Back Time.
Turn back time.
Yeah. Turn Back Time.
I only did this because that was my earworm this week was Gypsies,
Nice.
Tramps, and Thieves. So I'm gonna go with Gypsies, Tramps, and Thieves.
Fair.
Next one: wear a hat or wear a hood.
I was gonna ask for more context, but that's the name of the game, baby. You don't get context. You just gotta pick. And I think I'll pick a hat. I was a hat girl growing up until I got lice, and then we had to throw away all my hats. But I was like peak cringe level. Like I wore a fedora to school. Kind of. I was that kind of hat kid. And they always, like, a lot of teachers let it slide because, like, boys weren't allowed to wear, like, baseball caps inside, but they were like, oh, it's a fashion hat, like, so she can wear it. But some teachers were like, you can't have that on. And I would get so embarrassed that I, like, had to take my hat off because I felt very, like, protected with it.
Yeah. Did you ever recover from your hat trauma? You're not really a hat person anymore.
No,
Did that stop after
I'm
lice?
not. Yeah, I guess so.
Mm-hmm. So you never recovered.
I feel like
I recovered from lice. I never recovered from the hat trauma. Yeah, I would say I don't really wear hats a lot anymore.
It's tough because a hood makes me feel really cozy and protected, but a hood means I need a hoodie. I need to have a sweater on, and I don't always want to wear a sweater, but I can wear a hat with anything.
You rock a baseball cap. You look really good in a baseball hat, I think.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll go with baseball cap because it is hat because it is more my my go-to.
I'm gonna go with hood. I would always wear a hood over a hat, but I was gonna say I feel like we've brought up lice like the last few episodes.
We just keep pounding away at the fact that Dara once had lice. Shout out to the listeners who've had lice before.
Next week, is there a theme? I'm going to say yes, had lice. That's a theme.
If you currently have lice, though, I'm sorry, I'm not shouting you out. But if you're a recovery,
if you currently
You're a
have
victim.
lice, please don't come to my house.
If you're a lice veteran.
you're a Lyme veteran. You've had Lyme disease and I've had lice, so we're basically the
true.
same, right?
Oh God.
Jen, what's your L?
L. I'm a big loser.
No.
Next one is pine tree or palm tree.
Oh, pine tree. I love living in New England, and I especially love the amount of trees we have. I didn't really realize geographically that was something, like, unique to certain parts of the country, because when I visited California, I felt so, like, vulnerable. The fact that you
Like,
can see
naked.
you can see for, miles and miles in every direction. Meanwhile, I cannot see 40 feet in any direction from any window of my house. Like, when you're driving, it always feels so covered and safe. It's just, being anywhere where there's not complete tree coverage feels so weird to me.
It's the geographical hood.
I also feel like palm trees are never, like, I feel like every palm tree I've ever seen has been planted there by a human.
Yeah.
I've never seen a natural palm tree. Like, I've never been to a tropical destination, but I feel like every palm tree is, like, in the middle of a fucking shopping mall.
Yeah.
I'm like, why is that here?
They're also so sparse, dude. They do give us coconuts, but, like, at the same time, like, pine cones, pine trees, pine anything, pine sap.
Maple syrup? No, wait, that's maple tree.
That's not... I'll go with a pine tree as well.
Yeah, I'll go pine tree for the sweep. That's basically an East Coast versus West Coast kind of question.
Yeah.
Next one. Scorpion Bowl or Mai Tai?
Great choices. I don't always love sharing a drink. Like, when I want a Scorpion Bowl, I just want it to be, like, me and one other person, and we're, like, vibing with the Scorpion Bowl. Henry and I actually own more than one Scorpion Bowl.
We need to, like, do a podcast where we share a Scorpion Bowl. Maybe,
on the Patreon.
Maybe we'll do that on the Patreon, yeah.
That'd be super fun. But we have the kind that have the little volcano in the middle that you light the 151 rum on fire, and then you have your little Scorpion Bowl. We are a tiki drink household. I think we own, if there's, like, a percentage, when you're in, like, the height or weight percentage growing up, when they're like, you're in the 1 percentile because you're emaciated, like, that percentile. I would say Henry and I are in the 1 percentile of people who own tiki glasses. Like, guess how many we own, and I'm gonna tell you it's more.
12.
More
20.
than 12.
20.
Probably around 20, yeah. But even if we're counting, like, tiki, like, shot glasses, too, that look like little, like, Easter Island heads, well over 20. Yeah,
Cool.
Tiki memorabilia, I'm gonna say, because Henry's parents and grandparents were all really, like, tiki cocktail people, so we all have all the
You're
syrups.
third generation.
It's genetic.
We're a third generation tiki cocktail household. We've got the orgeat, the falernum. You need all the, like, sort of vaguely almondy flavored syrups to go with your, like, 10 different kinds of rum. Henry makes some drink that has, like, a specific kind of rum called, like, kahaka that's, like, only from a certain part, and it tastes like ass by itself, but you put it with, like, lime and sugar, and it's chef's kiss. It's whack. Yeah, I'm a tiki drink girl. I'm definitely gonna say a Mai Tai, because I don't always want to be, like, back washing into the communal bowl, but it is fun.
Like, I also can't even begin to think of what a Scorpion Bowl tastes like. It's just rum, but I know a Mai Tai tastes fantastic.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Scorpion Bowl. Obviously, sharing drinks isn't as much fun as it was pre-COVID, but I like a Scorpion Bowl. Next one is the songs Friday Night or Sweatshirt.
What is
So,
Friday night?
Rebecca Black, remember?
Oh, that's just Friday.
Friday. Friday or
Sweatshirt by the
Jacobs.
Beebs.
Jacobs.
Oh, Jacob Sartorius.
Remember those?
Do you know who is an LGBTQ fucking icon? Is Miss Rebecca Black. Her social media presence, like, I want her, I think she's on the verge of a resurgence potentially. Like, I want her to get back into the cultural zeitgeist because she's incredibly talented. She got swindled and buffindled by that weird producer guy who did all those whack music videos. The Friday one is the most popular, but his production company basically takes, like, young kids who want to be singers and then makes them into a fucking joke, like, on purpose. Like, there's one called, like, the Thanksgiving song. Like, it's this whole, like, shitty Hollywood production thing. But I think Rebecca Black seems really fucking cool. And I like her attitude. You know, as an adult, she seems to, you know, she'll laugh about it, but she also like does serious stuff too, and is like pretty good at, you know, having a good attitude. So I'm here for Miss Rebecca Black. Also, the Friday song, kind of a bop.
Yeah, that was an incredibly culturally important song. So I'm gonna go with Friday by Rebecca Black.
I'll go with Friday also, even though I called it Friday Night.
That's on Last Friday Night by Katy Perry. I think you're converging.
All right, next one, Breaking Bad or Better Call Saul?
Emily, are you going to say that you haven't seen either of these?
I've seen enough of Breaking Bad. I've probably watched it 3 times, and I've only gotten up to like the 3rd season, and then I drop off. And I know that's right where it starts to get really good, but I haven't seen Better Call Saul.
I honestly feel like you've maybe asked us this question before, and I genuinely cannot remember what I said because they are so close. Like, obviously Breaking Bad has like such the fundamental groundbreaking TV stuff, but I think if you look at like artistry, storytelling, Better Call Saul is a near perfect show. So I'm gonna have to say Better Call Saul, but I think it's, you know, you can't have one without the other. Henry and I recently, as the last season of Better Call Saul was coming out, we rewatched all of Breaking Bad and then immediately rewatched all of Better Call Saul so that we were like caught up as like the finale dropped or whatever. And it's one of the best TV shows of all time. Both of them are.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with Breaking Bad on this one just because it's what I know.
Yeah, I guess I'm going to go with the original Breaking Bad too, because I have never seen either of these. Not one episode. I should, though. I feel like I should binge it. Next one is Shangela or Monet Exchange?
I think I don't know if Shangela's actually canceled, but I've seen some stuff online about like accusations about Shangela during the Dancing with the Stars like tour, that she like perhaps did some questionable, I don't know if any of this is super true, but I know that some person like made a post being like, this person did this thing to me, XYZ. So I'm going to tentatively not say Shangela, because also they recently replaced Shangela, Eureka, and Bob for We're Here, their show that they do on HBO for maybe 2 or 3 seasons. The new season got renewed, but they replaced all 3 of them. Wow. I think because they wanted to boot Shangela without like making it suspicious. So they're like, oh, we'll just replace all of you to make it seem like it's like, oh, we're just getting, you know, some new queens in here.
The other 2 aren't canceled.
No, not like actually, but I think that they used getting all of them out of there as a you know, excuse to get Shangela off there. I don't know this for sure. Like I would have to read more about it. Don't take my word for it. But I love Monet Exchange. Mm-hmm. Definitely nothing questionable has ever been said about Miss Monet. I listen to Sibling Rivalry every week. I'm a stan. So definitely Monet Exchange.
Yeah, I'm also on the same way with Monet. They're like one of the handful of drag queens that I know.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Monet. I was just talking to somebody about our love of drag queens today, and I couldn't remember the name of the podcast, so I'm glad you said it.
Yeah, sibling rivalry is when they just talk about whatever, but sibling watchery is when they cover Drag Race, but sometimes they do other shows too. They'll watch like a season of Survivor and like talk about it episode through episode, but it's mostly all of the Drag Race seasons that they do.
Nice. Next one, lasagna or mac and cheese?
Ooh. Okay, I think a bad lasagna is bad, but bad mac and cheese is still mac and cheese. Like I gotta go with mac and cheese, because I think that the limit for exceptionalism and the limit for it being bad but still being edible is in either direction much more padding room for mac and cheese. Yeah.
I think you can do a lot more with mac and cheese as well. You can spice it up in way more different ways than you can ever spice up a lasagna. So I'll go for mac.
Nice. I'll go for mac too. Sleep on your back, sleep on your side, sleep on your stomach.
I sleep in like blade pose. I sleep fucking ready to fight. I sleep in yoga, like down dog, sleepy baby, whatever. I'm an aggressive sleeper. The only reason Henry and I truly we have like whatever the biggest size bed you can get on the market. And I'm not talking like, you know, Alaskan king or whatever, where they're like 90 feet wide. But I think we have like an XL king or whatever.
California king.
Because We have to sleep so far apart from each other because we're both kind of thrashers, but I'm such a mega thrasher. I will deck you in the face if I'm sleeping next to you. I'm thrashing. But honestly, so I'm supposed to wear a CPAP because I'm apneiatic, but I can't do it because I'm a stomach sleeper. I love to sleep on my stomach with my face straight down in the pillow, and I can't do it with a CPAP on.
Yeah, no wonder you can't fucking breathe.
But I'm was stomach an option because I'll also go with like a deep side, you know. But who, if you sleep on your back, who? You, Emily? You're a back sleeper?
Here's my thing. Okay, I can sleep on my side. If I'm getting spooned, I'll fall asleep on my side. But like when I go to like fall asleep, I'll do this thing. Basically, it's my routine. It's my hot dog. I'm like a hot dog rolling like in the little hot dog machine.
The 7-Eleven, you gotta rotate.
Because I'll start on my, because I have to hit every angle. I always start on my stomach, and then I flip to my side, and then I end up flipping to my other side. And the way I will always, and like I'm most comfortable probably on my stomach, but the way I always fall asleep is when I flip onto my back. So I gotta be true, and I'll say back.
Yeah, I sleep on my right side, and I stay on my right side all night long.
You know, you're supposed to sleep on your left side to the side for good like digestive health. That's like the way your like innards lay. It's good for the gravity to be like pushing your shit down to the left.
It's true. You can cut this if you want, but I used to work in a nursing home, and we would lay everyone on their left side one night so that they would all poop the next day. Like we just had to get stuff done, you know.
No, it's like
all right, everyone's sleeping left.
You're working the night shift, and the bitch you hate is opening, and you're like, oh, I put all the old fucking people on their left side. Fuck Carla, the nurse, who's gonna have to deal with all these shitting old people in the morning.
So funny.
Oh my goodness. I love that, though.
That is it.
Thank you, Jen, exposing a little bit of devious side to you. You're typically the best amongst us all, but
no.
Love it. Well, we love a no theme, and we love you. Thank you for being here. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Like I mentioned, if you are on the Patreon, we post these as video episodes separate. So if you want to see the three of us FaceTiming and gabbing, they're separate from the episodes. They're like their own little video thing. So it'll just, but if you want to pay $2.86 to know what my gorgeous mother Jen looks like, we actually we look exactly the same. If you know what I look like, you know what Jen looks like. We go out in public and people are like, oh, so that's your mom. And I'm like, yeah. Like, I don't have to do those filters on TikTok that like tell you what you're gonna look like when you're like, 56. I know because I look at pictures of Jen when she was younger and she was just like a slightly more athletic me, which we love. But anyways,
she could like catch a ball.
Yeah, she like played sports, and I have a podcast. But Jen, we love you. Thank you, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks.
Bye.
I love you guys. Have an awesome night.
I would say like the only valid criticism, well, not the only valid criticisms, but some valid criticisms that you could potentially put forth today are like the use of three, presumably heterosexual cisgender men as the three leads. Like obviously today, I think we would like to see actual queer people in those roles.
Yeah,
even actual drag queens would be fucking perfect considering they're in drag the entire time.
Yeah,
there's no need for them to not
You don't even need to get like a makeup person. They do their own makeup.
Right?
If anything,
save some cash.
Yeah.
Budget cutbacks. But I would say like that edge to it of like, oh, at the beginning it's so we're all supposed to laugh because it's Patrick Swayze. Like I feel like that like joke is never really played out again, really, other than just that the implication of like, oh, that's actually a man every once in a while. But it's like she is Vita. Like that is her character.
But like also I love the opening sequence it's like a whole opening sequence of watching Patrick Swayze and Wesley Snipes get ready and get into drag. I thought it was so beautifully done and so like lovely and like intimate almost, which was so dope.
And it's almost like them like putting on their like armor, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Which is really cool. But then also I would say that like some of the like conversations around race in this movie are a little bit dated. Like the way that they just call John Leguizamo little Latin boy is like, it's always like, it's never done with like ill intent.
No.
It's always just like them being friendly. But there are
It is very much like how some gay people like talk, though. You know what I mean? I'm sitting there, I'm like, I could see RuPaul saying this.
Right. But also, like, there is a time in the middle of the movie or whatever where Vida and Chi-Chi kind of get into it and they sort of like start like hurling like racial insults at each other, which I guess is sort of like you know, when it boils down to it, if you're gonna go for low blows, be like, you have a white savior complex. Oh, well, you come from a third world country. I was like, maybe we can rewrite that line. Maybe we can, you know, find a more creative way to insult each other.
Speaking of finding, rewriting and finding new ways to do this movie, you brought this to me before we started recording, saying, hey, I'm gonna ask you to recast this movie.
Yes.
So and you said you've got drag queens in mind.
Yeah, so I originally, while I was watching this, I'm a huge drag fan, so I just, from the drag race canon of girls, I was like, who would I see in these roles today if we were to, like, cast actual drag queens? But then I was also thinking, like, if they were gonna do the remake and kind of play off the similar vibe of, like, we're casting not even particularly like straight cis men, like that doesn't have to be the prerequisite, but like we're gonna show that these are men who are actors who you typically see playing men in other roles, and now they're gonna be in drag, which is like the kick of the movie, basically. So that's what I presented to you. But for who I thought from Drag Race initially, so Miss Vida, I feel like you need somebody who sort of has that like motherly energy, like really caring. Nina West, who recently played Edna Turnblad on the like US tour, and I saw it in Boston. She's just so amazing. She was on Drag Race, but I
love drag queens getting into like theater more now and everything like that. Like it's such a jump that makes sense. It's such a small leap, but like you're like, holy shit, why have bitches not been doing this before?
Yes,
like fucking
Jinx Monsoon.
Jinx Monsoon playing Mama Morton in Chicago.
Yes, which she was another one I thought for Vida, but she's maybe a little too like kooky. I feel like Vida needs to be like fairly serious, and Jinx Monsoon is kind of like, she's like, I'm a swamp witch, which is like maybe not the vibe. But I thought Nina West would be great. I also think if you're not particularly casting like with race in mind, which a lot of the conversations in this movie do revolve around the races of these three characters, so I do think on a base level it might be important to kind of cast a white person, a black person, and a Latinx person for these roles like that fundamentally in the screenplay. But I also thought that Peppermint, who's a black drag queen and she's trans, and I feel like she could also sort of bring a lot of life to the Miss Vida role. And then Ben de la Creme is just another like very campy, like almost has that older Hollywood kind of way about her, and also like phenomenal actors. I also tried to keep in mind when making my Drag Race picks about the girls who like are actually good actors, just because you're a drag queen doesn't mean that you have like the ability to act in a movie. You know, being on a reality TV show and being in a feature film are like two very different skill sets. So I tried to keep that in mind. But for Noxima, obviously my first initial, you know, Bob the drag queen, one of my favorite, maybe my favorite winner probably ever. I love Bob. So I thought Bob would be an awesome Noxima. But also if we wanted to skew a little bit younger, Simone is a fairly recent winner, and she calls herself the Ebony Enchantress, which I didn't realize was like a reference to this movie, or they use that in this movie. I don't know if that's from somewhere else. But Simone is really great. She also is super into having the black experience and black culture be a huge part of her drag, which I feel like is like kind of Noxima's whole thing too. I also, Mo Hart and Raja O'Hara were two other ones that I thought would be really great Noximas. And then Chi-Chi, Valentina, she's the host of Drag Race Mexico. She was on Drag Race US, but she's now the host of Drag Race Mexico. I don't know about her acting abilities. She's certainly like very over the top, but I don't know if she could like, there isn't too much subtlety to Chi-Chi though. You kind of just have to be like over the top to be Chi-Chi. But I also think Miss Vanjie is another one who could really play that sort of like kind of naive, finding my bearings, I'm a little bit messy kind of character. So those are my Drag Race picks. Let me know if any of y'all watch Drag Race. DM me and tell me who you think would be a good To Wong Foo. But as far as actors, just like working actors who you think would be good, Vida, Noxima, Chi-Chi.
Okay. I am really partial. I just would love to see Paul Mescal in drag, but I'm not going to say I would cast him. I think he'd be great, but I can't. But I have like one for Vita that I feel like is really fucking solid, and I think if you put Daniel Craig in drag, he would have the time of his life.
I feel like he maybe skews just a touch too old, but I think it would make up for it just in the like demeanor.
Yeah,
I think also like let him keep the accent. I think.
Yeah, like, I think he would be fucking stellar. I think he would love it. That is my bisexual king.
Yes. My two for Vita were either Hugh Jackman. I think he has the like the
regalness.
Like that we see him in a lot of action movies, but at his heart he is a theater kid.
Yeah, that's
like
true.
He wants to twirl, right? So I think putting him in drag could be kind of funny in that way.
Okay.
But also Andrew Garfield. We know that Andrew Garfield loves drag queens.
Yeah.
And also I feel like maybe doesn't have the like age or the wisdom to play Miss Vita, but I think would maybe make up for it in like enthusiasm.
Yeah, I think you're right about that.
What about Noxema?
Noxema, I said Tyler James Williams.
Oh, I have him too.
Yeah, I think he would be fucking brilliant.
I also think if we could get a big height difference on between him and Miss Vita, I think that would also be pretty funny too, because he's like fucking 7 feet tall, right?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
He also, I think, has like the comedic chops, I think, for sure, to bring that sort of like Wesley Snipes energy.
Did you have anyone else?
Yeah, I just love anytime Ice Cube's son is on my fucking TV screen. O'Shea Jackson Jr. I just
He's so
love
fucking
him.
funny, yeah.
And he's another one that I think we only ever see him like in an oversized t-shirt and basketball shorts, just like playing the exact same character in everything he's in. So I think having him be a drag queen would be just like so out of the box for him, which is clearly like what they were intending with the casting choices originally. I also thought, I always just want everyone from Sex Education to be in anything.
Shooty?
I think Shooty would be perfect. Also, if we wanted to like get actual queer people in the mix here, like that's perfect.
Yeah.
But also the actor who plays, what's his character name? He's the the swimming kid.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. I can't remember his name.
His name is Kendar Williams Sterling.
Yeah,
but he has just like a gorgeous bone structure.
He's beautiful.
And
also, like if you wanted to have like someone that's still like jacked play a role,
like skinny jacked. Yeah. I think I would love to see his face in like full beat drag because his bone structure is like
beautiful,
gorgeous.
Yeah, he is beautiful.
And then for Chi-Chi, the only one off the top of my head was the actor who plays Jaime in Broad City.
Oh my god.
He was a little too old because I do think you need the Chi-Chi character
younger
to be a little bit like younger and more naive, but just Arturo Castro is his name. I just think he has that sort of like irreverence, like maybe could play it off a little ditzy.
Yeah. I pulled up Julio Torres, who is he's in that new movie Problemista, which is like, written by him as well, but it's with Tilda Swinton and do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I've heard of this. I do not know who this person is though.
Yeah.
I didn't know
he hasn't done a whole lot, but he's a comedian and a writer and everything like that, and like from what I've seen of him, like he looks like he'd do a really good job. So
yeah, I think comedy is super important, like having comedic background, and then also I think getting someone relatively unknown for Chi-Chi is also like preferable, I think, because to have like two iconic people and then you're like, this is the newbie, like obviously casting somebody sort of maybe more unknown like makes a lot of sense there.
Yeah, 100%. I love the attention to detail in this movie. Like, one of my favorite scenes was at the end when everyone's kind of at the little, like, strawberry festival and everything like that. The outfits, amazing. But I'm talking about the girls' outfits, like Vita and Noxema and all them. They're up, like, looking at them from a balcony and everything like that. And then they're in the colors of the fairy godmothers or like the fairies from Sleeping Beauty.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah. And maybe it wasn't intentional. I have a feeling it was.
Yeah.
But I was sitting there, I was like, that's so fucking adorable.
You know that the person who did the production design of this movie also did Do the Right Thing? Which makes a lot of sense when you look at it, of like a lot of the interior spaces have a ton of really great attention to detail that you really get a sense of this community even just by going into like their homes and their stores and their like the spaces where they live really have a lot of character to them, despite the fact that they're all super muted. Like the coloring of this movie is strategically, I think, very like tan, because you want the three
them to stand out.
Yeah, you want them to feel out of place, right? But I think we still get a lot of like, and then obviously as they bring the people out of their shells, the color starts to seep in, and at the end we get all the bright red and all of the positivity, which is so great. But learning that fact, that it was the same like production designer, like set designer, really, I was like, oh, that connects to me, because you get that same like sense of the community through the space they're in Do the Right Thing. Like you need like 1 second and you know where they are.
Exactly, for sure. Also, one thing they also got really right in this movie is the cop is going around like looking for for the drag queens. And he has this list of places places for homos.
Oh my god, was it brunch?
Flower shops, ballet schools, a flight attendant lounge, restaurant for brunch, and antique shops. Like, he's right.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
To this day, again, that has held up.
Right. Restaurants for brunch.
But another scene too that really made me giggle is, it's kind of like this montage scene or whatever. All the girls are like still like on their way to California, and they're all like voguing in the car or whatever, and they're passing this train, and everyone in the train, it's this beautiful shot of like in the foreground it's the girls in the car, and in the background it's the whole train. Everyone is just voguing like out the windows and everything like that, and I was like, this is amazing.
And I think that is true for so many moments in this movie, where it's like you think for a second that maybe people are like making fun of them, but then after like a second of, you know, looking, you realize that they're like reveling in the like joy, right? That it's like not them making fun of them, it's that them like participating in this really like great fun energy, which is kind of the part of the whole movie of them going to the town and basically being like, okay, all of you people need to like address your internalized like gender binary and like maybe internalized homophobia and whatever, like let's get that out of the way so that we can all just like get along and have a good time, right? Because it's all these women right off the way, like, they trust them.
Yep.
They respect their opinion. And it's just so wholesome. Yeah, way more wholesome than I would have ever thought.
Right? And, like, the jokes are funny, dude. Like, there's one scene where they're still traveling again, and they're really worried about, like, getting a hotel and, like, being okay and, like, being, like, not passing, basically. But Chi-Chi, like, walks in and, like, kind of demands service or whatever. He's sitting there, is like, and, like, the host is like, I'm so sorry I didn't greet you outside. Like, we have, like, all of your friends inside already or whatever. And they're like, huh? What are they talking about? And it's a women's basketball league. Like, that's, like, fucking hilarious writing.
And also, yeah, all of the implication that they always do pass is, like, everyone's just like, wow, Patrick Swayze sure is a really tall lady, huh? Like, it's never, like, questioning their, like, biology, but more just like, oh, she's really fucking tall, huh?
Exactly.
Which a lot of the attitudes in this movie did make me really, like, sad to think about sort of how things are right now.
Yeah, how things actually are.
Like, this, I think, is a great movie to watch today. Watch it today, because I think a lot of the like anti-drag and anti-trans laws that are happening in America, all around the world in America, but specifically in Tennessee, like, I feel like it's crazy to think that this movie was made in 1995 and has such a good and positive message. Specifically the scene where the cop is on the outskirts of town and somebody like walks by and he's like, can you believe, like, you know, these men dressed up as women like this, and like, can you believe the state of America? And the guy says something along the lines of like, oh, the founding fathers, he says,
well, the founding fathers had fabulous wigs too,
right? Like, the fact that we were making such a great and positive statement about drag queens, about, you know, gender expression, about, you know, acceptance in 1995, and that today there are legislators still trying to get drag banned. And it's not
insane.
just anti-drag laws, they're inherently also so anti-trans laws, because it's all about like it's like
gender expression. It's
called the Adult Entertainment Act, basically, and it's just a hateful and bigoted way to be like, anyone dressing not as what you assume their assigned gender to be is performing, which is that just means anyone who's trans who you don't consider to be passing is inherently breaking the law, and that's not fucking chill. Not that this is like a political podcast for you to get your information from, but I just think that it's wild to watch this movie and think that we're in the same place, if not a little bit regressed, fucking 20 years later.
110%. It's so fucking sad, dude.
But it's also a good reminder to, like, not only do the systemic change things that are expected of you, like to vote, but do also listen to your friends and listen to the people who are in those communities who are being affected by these things. And, like, when they say it's time to fucking throw bricks, like, you should get out there with them and do it, because things don't always change by standing in line to vote, I don't know, protect your friends and educate yourself. Yeah. That's important too.
Speaking of your friends, though, what are you gonna serve? What are you going to eat and drink when you have your friends over to watch this movie?
So I had 2 cocktails. One is like an actual suggestion based on the movie. A strawberry rhubarb gin little cocktail.
Ooh.
I figured it's the Strawberry Festival and they keep talking about strawberry pie, and I'm like, does strawberry pie exist outside of strawberry rhubarb pie? Like, I feel like I just always assume like strawberry rhubarb.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Classic.
But so it's just gin. You could make a strawberry rhubarb simple syrup, just boil that shit with some sugar and some water and a fucking, make it, put it in a jar, keep it, some lime, shake it up.
Yeah.
Maybe a little seltzer water if you're feeling like you want to sip it. But I thought that was really good. But also specifically from Drag Race, there was a challenge on season 2, I want to say, where they all had to promote a cocktail because Absolute was like the sponsor of Drag Race. So they had to make a commercial like promoting an Absolute cocktail specifically for the acai berry flavor. And Jessica Wilde, who's just one of the most delightful drag queens to ever come out of this show, her English was like not super great at this time. Okay. So she in her commercial she just keeps sipping the cocktail and saying, "I love this drink." I love that drink. And it's just so iconic. And so if you get yourself some Absolute acai berry flavor, it's pretty good. I've bought it because of Drag Race. So you can make yourself something with that if you wanted like a specific drag through line. And then to eat, I figure they're in the car a lot of the time. And I feel like a common, like, food you want to eat in the car is French fries. Yeah. So I think you can do them, yourself, cut up some potatoes and fucking fry that shit. Or if you're lazy, just, like, get some good ones from a bag. I really like the ones that are called Zesty Straight from, like, Ore-Ida. Some, like, zesty, because that's how I feel like Bobby Ray is, like, a little zesty straight. You know what I mean? But they're just, like, well-seasoned French fries. Yeah. And then I think you go fucking hard on the dipping sauces. Oh, yeah. You just make, like, a flight of, like, get yourself a fucking garlic aioli, get a spicy ketchup, get a,
Cajun.
Whatever. Yeah, whatever dipping sauces your heart desires, do a whole flight and be extra about it. I like that. With your French fries.
I like that a lot.
What about you?
I'm also going fried because I didn't really want to go the strawberry route or anything like that. So I think you do some fried green tomatoes. Ooh. That might just be because I've been like hankering for some lately.
Also another LGBTQ film.
Exactly. So you do that, and I was sitting there, I was like, this doesn't really strike me as a cocktail town. This is a beer kind of place. You know what they're drinking? A PBR.
So true.
But I really like if you like make your own sort of shandy, because I think pre-made shandies are fucked. They don't ever taste enough like lemonade or anything like that. So you make your own like shandy and like do some. Mind you, is that's a shandy, right?
Yeah, lemonade and beer.
Yeah,
or like any fruit thing.
Yeah. So I think you like do like your own sort of PBR and lemonade kind of thing.
I love the scene when they're like at sort of what is maybe like the community center or like the bar or something, and Patrick Swayze orders, he's like 3 ladies cocktails or whatever. Like he's like 1 Shirley Temple and 3 ladies cocktails. I'm like, what is a ladies cocktail? What is that? I want one. Yeah, right. But and then what are you gonna, I guess we're doing this out of order today. We'll do Fuck, Marry, Kill last.
Okay.
What are you gonna follow this up with? I already said my 2, which is either you watch Cars, which is just a striking resemblance, or Thelma and Louise. Also, I would say you do Thelma and Louise first, because that one's not quite as positive, and then you do To Wong Foo. Yeah. And then maybe you're so drunk that you just put on Cars and you fall asleep like 10 minutes in.
Nice. I like that. I think that one of my favorite actors in this was Robin Williams. He has, like, he's on screen for maybe, like, 3 minutes or something like that. But so I think you watch his queer film, The Birdcage, which is also 90s and funny. Do you know this movie?
No, I don't.
Oh my god, it's also, like, a drag movie, basically. They own a drag bar. Him and his husband own a drag bar. Their son brings home, like, his girlfriend, and then, like, the parents are, like, gonna meet the parents are both gonna meet, and the son is, like, real nervous because he's like, I don't know, you guys are gay and they're conservative or whatever, and so
Gotcha.
And so Robin Williams' husband, oh god, who plays him? Oh my god, hold on, dresses up in drag though.
Oh, to pretend to be a woman so that they pass. Oh, okay, interesting. Yeah, I've never heard of this. It sounds really funny though.
That's actually wild because it's Nathan Lane, but it fucking great movie again. Like, just really in that, like, funny vein of, like, 90s queer movies that, like, didn't age too poorly.
Can we play Fuck, Marry, Kill with the 3 drag queens? I feel like we have to. They're the 3, like, the titular.
Yeah. I'm gonna... Chi-Chi pissed me off, so I'm gonna kill Chi-Chi.
Yeah.
Immature. Too immature for me. I'm gonna marry Noxima, and then I'm gonna fuck Miss Vita.
Yeah, I feel like I agree with you only because... Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah.
I just straight up agree. That's just the right decision. I feel like I know Miss Vita would, like, take care of me, but that's, like, a little bit too... She's, like, a little bit too mommy to be, like, a spouse, you know? I'm like, I want her to adopt me. I don't want to marry her. Kind of.
Exactly.
Kind of vibes.
Entirely. And then... Oh my god.
My cats are going wild.
What are you gonna rate this movie out of 10?
I'll give it, like, an 8. I thought it was really fun.
I'm giving it a 9.
Yeah, I would definitely, like, put it on again. I envisioned myself watching this again.
It's also just an easy movie to watch.
Yes.
You can put it on in the background, or you can, like, actually, like, sit down and watch it.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, if you even put it on in the background, you're bound to, like, catch a bunch of good moments.
Yeah, exactly.
And I was really pleasantly surprised by it. I really did not expect to like it as much as I did.
Right? Yeah.
Which is always really nice. And thank you all for listening. It has been another installment of Dress Up Month. I think that's the most succinct way to put it. It's Dress Up Month. And if you are interested in watching this as a video episode, we have a Patreon now. It's like $2.80 something to subscribe for a whole month. We do all of the episodes as videos are available on there, as well as some bonus content. Right now we have our Barbie and Oppenheimer episodes up for that, but more bonus content will be coming soon. Also, if you are a patron and you suggest a movie, we are like 1 billion times more likely to do it, especially as a bonus on the Patreon. So, you know, fucking run it. The link is in the description below if that's something you're interested in. We priced it exactly as a great value box of ice cream sandwiches because that seems about right.
Yeah.
And we love you all. Thank you so much for listening. Go check out our social medias. Continue to always send us your movie suggestions, even if you're not a patron. You know, you don't have to give me $2 for me to like you. It helps. No, just kidding. We love you all. Thank you so much for listening, and goodbye and good night.